Welcome to Working with Languages, the podcast for language speakers ready to explore the range of opportunities involving languages. My name is Sonja Kamshoff. I'm a translator turned Google Ads specialist and a lifelong language enthusiast. Join me and my guests as we explore how they embraced languages in their careers and what working with languages looks like in the age of AI. Because finding the right inspiration can help you build or shift your career. I've been looking forward to recording this episode with Wendy because her job as a senior customer success manager is really well suited to people with language skills, and I wanted to find out more about it. This conversation does not disappoint. Wendy moved from Colombia and Barcelona to Finland to progress her career specifically in the tech and events industry. She tells us why Finland is a tech hub and why you may not know about it, what makes a good customer success manager, and we end the chat with a surprise question to me. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Working with Languages. My guest today is truly international, from Colombia, but has lived in Europe in various countries for a number of years and speaks various languages and is now based in Finland, which is a tech hub. So first of all, hello, Wendy.
Hello, Sonja. Thank you for having me here.
It's wonderful to have you here. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation. As you know, I normally start with the same question for everyone. What is your favorite word or phrase in a language that you speak?
Yeah, I think I actually want to go with my original language, so Spanish, and it's a phrase, something that is more like my motto, and it's vamos a ver qué pasa. It means like, let's see what happens in English, but it doesn't really grasp, like if you use the literal translation of this sentence, it's more like a vibe and something that will be used especially for like an attitude towards uncertainty. So it's something that I have applied quite often in my life. Also what it describes why I'm living in Finland. So yeah, it's a bit of optimism in the sentence, but a bit of risk-taking at the same time.
Oh, I like it. Optimism and risk-taking. That's such a beautiful expression. I'm very glad you picked it.
Yeah, it's we have a lot of sayings, of course, in Colombia, but that's one of the best ones that I can think of, basically. It applies in many ways to my personality too, but yeah, it's not correctly grammatically, let's say, for a non-Spanish speaker, but it is really in the vibing mode, quite widely used, basically.
Brilliant. So you're from Colombia. Tell us more about where you're from and all your origin story, if you like.
Yeah, so I was born in Colombia. I was also raised partially there, as I did all my school studies as a child, and then kind of got involved a little bit more with languages still while being in there, especially because the schools are primarily focused in American English because of the influence of United States. Of course, that's kind of like one of the main languages that we learned. And then the journey took me to Spain, moved there with my family in Barcelona. So that's kind of like a secondary home. And that's one of the places where it actually opened the doors to more languages to me, more specifically because Barcelona is in a region where it's widely used two different languages like Catalan and Spanish. They coexist in the same space. So I learned Catalan as well at the same time. Like it was obvious an advantage to be a Spanish speaker.
How old were you when you moved to Barcelona?
Officially, I was 16, but I had living back and forth earlier than that. So yeah, I will say officially when I was 16, but I lived there a bit earlier for vacations and then going back to Colombia.
Nice. And you moved there with your family, so you finished your studies as well, your school, and I know you went to university there as well.
Yes, that's one of the main purpose of learning Catalan, because if you want to study officially in like one of the main universities in Barcelona, you must speak Catalan. It's part of the language requirements. That was a really good thing that I decided to do it prior to the studies. I was planning to do something absolutely different to what my career is right now. I wanted to go into like a medicine studies, but still like the language applied for everything else.
Interesting, very interesting. I didn't realize that. I know, of course, that Barcelona is Catalans, but I didn't realize that university is only in Catalan and that it is a requirement. That's very interesting. So you knew from early on that you wanted to study there and you improved your Catalan for that.
It's not like it's fully in Catalan, it's partial in Catalan. Of course, if you do it as an Erasmus exchange, it's a different story because, of course, it doesn't imply that you actually study in the university itself. But if you start from like first year and you plan to do the full career, then definitely you have to speak Catalan because it will take, I think for my career, it was like 45% of my studies were in Catalan. So yeah, it's kind of a big portion. And then, yeah, Spanish and a third language that you can decide which one. In that case, well, I chose English since I already had the advantage of speak it. So, but yeah, like that's basically how it works in regions. It's not the only one. Basically, if you know a little bit more about Spain, each of the regions, they also have their official co-language. You can also see it, for example, in the northern bit with the Euskera is like officially is the Basque country, and they also speak their own co-official language, and it also applies in some ways for the studies too.
Interesting. So when you said you wanted to go into medicine, but then decided on a different path, what made you decide for the different path?
I think, yeah, like being exposed to the lifestyle, the opportunities that you get to see when living in Europe. You also believe that there are some other ways of, I don't know, like experiencing the job market. And that's what happened. I was really, really like leading towards, I wanted to do like, and then somehow I ended up involved in a lot of like business related jobs that I did early on my like adulthood. So as soon as I turned 18, and then basically the languages, the optional career opportunities of having a job that I can travel. That was also some kind of decision there. And obviously, biomedicine is not one of them. You might be just behind one lab. So that was basically why I decided to go with business studies in general, like events industry more specifically, since Barcelona is quite a big cosmopolitan place. And yeah, events is a huge thing in the city too. I don't know if you heard some of those.
Yeah, I think it's quite famous to have a lot of events, business, non-business. It's a very popular city where to go and hang out and also have conferences. So you had a very pragmatic approach about, the choice of your career. You wanted to be able to travel, but also have, a solid foot in the place where you were already living. And did you then, after university, did you work in Barcelona?
Yes, I did. I didn't start especially on the events industry. I was also at the same time studying. So for me, it was more like a job that I could cover my expenses while I was finishing my studies at the same time. But I got to grasp a bit on the events industry there. Of course, it's like a magnificent place to experience, as you said, like all of this business or like social events in general. And I was so interested at the time by the logistics, but then my interest became a bit deeper of the industry, but in the tech side. And that's where I also decided that I needed to take a little bit of a turn in my career and not staying in Barcelona, but actually going somewhere where I could actually focus on the tech part. And that's why I ended up in Finland, basically.
And when we first spoke, you said that Finland is really a tech hub, which I wasn't fully aware of. So you went there deliberately because you wanted to have more exposure to the technical side in your work as well.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard about Nokia?
Yes, of course, but it's probably one of the older companies. Normally,
Yeah,
when I think of
exactly.
tech, it's more like, I don't know, the last 10, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's also in the cultural of Finland. They are really modest when it comes to like not calling their attention so easily. That's why like maybe Finns companies are not heard so often, but still they are there. They are in things that you don't realize. Like another example of this kind of influence of Finland in many other places is like the lifts, elevators. If you go in many places, you will see this brand called Kone, and people don't realize this is a Finnish company. But because of that, like the image of Finland is not so well known, or like it was not so well known back then. But still, they had a lot of influence in like a tech related, like software or hardware in general. But the decision moving here, it was also because of like related to the studies. They are really good as like a nest where you can start learning about technology. And I think that was a really good move because my plan on the career, it was very niche, I had to say. Deciding to stay in events industry, but also focusing on the technical part. That's not something that so often someone know, or like you get to know like, oh, I want to specifically do this. That's what I took my chance, and I think it was a really good one, even though like Finland was an absolute unknown place to me when I took this decision. But yeah, like I had a lot of people that I met in Barcelona who helped with this decision. They were Finns. They were talking about social aspects. Of course, language. I was terrified because it has nothing to do with any other language that I was exposed before.
Yeah, Finnish is notoriously different than any other language. It's really a linguistic family on its own. So how are you learning? Are you learning? Would you say that you're now fluent in Finnish?
No, I am. I'm still learning Finnish. Basically, is B1 in paper. I can definitely go to a cafe, a restaurant. I can understand if they use the official language because there are two parts of the language. To be clear in this sense, there is the official or like the how they call like the book language, kirjakieli. That is the official way to speak it. And then there is the spoken language that is more informal. So that's the one that I still struggle a little bit, mostly because of the speed. There are some contractions in the words, they cut them off. And so you really need to pay attention a lot to grasp on the context, otherwise, it can get mixed. It's not something that I am used in any other languages. I mean, like there are some bits here and there in English, for example, that you can also do these constructions, but still you have a lot of the root of the word, or they are very minor. So yeah, like at least I am fluent in some parts of the language, but it's still trying to get my way into being an actual proficiency in the near future.
And how are you finding the world? Sorry, say that sentence again. How are you finding the work culture? Is it very international? How would you describe it?
I have the fortune to work in a company that is really international. Although all management is local, they are from Finland. Our team is composed of like, I have probably like counted the last time we were about 20 different nationalities. So the official language is English internally, although there like sometimes you see in the office that some people are speaking Finnish, some people are speaking Russian, some people speaking in like, I don't know, Spanish, for example, me. So it's really like nice to hear all of those languages at the same time when you are working. And then like towards our clients, of course, then it's based on what you can speak. So that's how we get the division there.
Great. And tell us more about what you do there professionally.
Yeah. Well, I am currently one of the senior customer success managers. Basically, handle a portfolio of clients, meaning that all of those clients are the ones that brings those events to life. And me as the customer success manager, I help them to onboard in the process of applying the software that we provide them for these events. So it's kind of digitalization of their event. It's a tool that it helps with the interactions for networking, with the content, like everything in one place. In the end, it's like converting that event from the physical to the digital context.
Yeah, I noticed, for example, that in the last few years, when I go to an event or a conference, they often give you an app, which makes it so much easier. You can see the layout, you can see where people are, where stands are, and you can message people, and it's super easy, and there's updates and news and everything. This is such a brilliant idea. It makes it really much easier to go to events and conferences and just move around and connect with others. It's a brilliant product.
Yeah, correctly. And then I will consider that I am quite outgoing if you compare me to like the regular Finn. That's why I find it so enhancing the working in a company like this. But at the same time, I understand what such product like the one that I work with exists, because I wouldn't be capable of speaking to, I don't know, like 20 different strangers just out of nowhere, trying to pitch them my idea. I will be so shy in a way. So having these tools and also finding the information in one place, it makes it so easier. So definitely the digitalization of events, it was a great, I don't know, like introduction to the industry, probably like 15, 20 years ago, and even more in the past 10 ones where a lot of bigger features has come to life.
And as a customer success manager, you really sit between the technical team and the clients, the company clients. So you have this interaction between two different teams, and you want to essentially fulfill the requests that the clients have on a technical side to make it to make the app more personalized and customized. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's the fun part. Definitely, I do work as the bridge between the tech and the customer relationship. But the idea here is like I get to give them all the best practices, all the technical understanding on how they can get the most out of the system, especially because in the business event industry, there are also some goals, there are some how to say, the outcome of those events are not necessarily just to bring attendees in and get the entrance ticket out of them. There are also some other items such as sponsorships, like a lot of hidden purpose behind, like why do I need to bring X amount of attendees, and the percentage of all of those stakeholders, and how to combine that strategically on like the promotional items of the system, creating that traffic on the platform itself, the interactions. That's the strategic side. And that's where I combine both of them, kind of guiding the team in the project to build all of those features strategically to what they actually want to have as an outcome, as a goal, business wise.
That sounds so interesting. It's really a combination of so many skills that you can apply on a daily basis. So the clients that you work with, where are they based? Do you use your languages in your work?
I do with some of them, yeah. I mostly work with all of the European market, although I also have some clients that are based in Middle East or like some Asian countries too. Although that in Europe, I work with Spanish market, so that's where I can get to use my original or like native language, also Catalan, because yeah, if I get a client that works in the Catalanian region, then I get to speak Catalan to them. And then, of course, the remaining ones, so it's English as the main language, most of them. Finnish is more like specific for like actual colleagues that they are native. So we try to really provide the localization of those clients based on the native language that we speak.
Brilliant. So that means that the app exists in various languages as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that basically opens up the possibilities to work in any languages. Yeah.
Nice. That's very interesting. I'm very interested about this job role of customer success manager because I think it's fairly recent, not super recent, but fairly recent. And can you tell us a little bit more about what makes a good customer success manager? What are the skills that are most needed?
I think that curiosity is basically one of the most relevant characteristics on the role or like the specifics of being a customer success manager, because you need to understand that not every case is the same, not every client is the same, although they might have like similarities on their outcomes. But also speaking here about the events industry because there are customer success managers in other type of industries, and it works completely opposite of what I do here. This is one of the conversations I get to have with my peers here in Finland. There is a group of customer success professionals. And it's so funny to enter those conversations with them because while I explain them what I do as a CSM, they are telling me something completely different of what they do. But in general, is you need to be quite data driven for this role. So you get to combine that information to like how to proceed with the project in general. Really also like thick skin and not to panic so easily and get really well organizational skills.
So it's really very, very all-round role where you need to be able to speak with people and, get things organized and done, but also look at at data and the business side of it. That's such an interesting role. And how relevant do you think overall are languages in this job type, both for you and for other people, maybe your colleagues, but also other customer success managers in other companies?
Yeah. For us, it's quite relevant because we are an international company. So it's not just internal, although we all speak English fluently in the company, but internationally, it is well known that the best you can communicate is definitely like the customer's language. I think it's also a good to have as an advantage. I had this clearly with some clients that although they speak English, the context or the safety of having someone who speaks also your native language is taken differently, so that you get to handle the project in a different manner. You also have some like similar cultural experiences. So I've noticed from clients that I have like a bit more like a Northern Europe versus Southern Europe, the way to work. And when I communicate in English, of course, is like neutral to everyone. But when I get to speak in my native language to anyone from Spain, for example, that makes the work a bit more relaxed, more personalized in a way, because they feel closer. And I think this role, especially, it gets to handle a lot of like the psychological side of the project management. You need to be a little bit of a persuasive. You need to understand like the nuances of how to get to the client's soft spot. And then, of course, we try to do that for all of our clients with our colleagues.
Do you find that sometimes it's easier that some people from certain countries, do you find it easier to work with them as opposed to others, considering your background and your languages?
I have to say that maybe those also applies to personality, but professionally, I must say that, of course, languages makes easier the communication if you can actually use it properly. In this case, speaking Spanish has opened more like the trust, and that's something that it really feels in this kind of role. The progress of a project, the how you can work with your client for the outcomes. So I definitely consider the language is a huge advantage for a CSM, especially.
I normally ask also how you use AI in your daily life and in your work. It feels like, working for a technology company, probably you use it a lot. Can you give us some examples of how you use it?
Yeah, definitely. That's the topic of the past 3 years, and more especially in the last one. You can see AI everywhere. But yeah, of course, professionally, I use for analysis mainly. Again, like my role involves a lot of like data driven. So the most efficient way in this year has been like the introduction of those tools in our processes. So I cannot speak in depth of the analytics that we utilize it for, but in short, it saves time to use for like comparatives, where also I need to combine like unrelated sources. So the tools that, or like the facilities of AI to like create those reports, it's really lifesaver in most cases where you don't need to spend like 5 hours trying to combine, I don't know, like a table from here to there, and then all of these formulas that you used to need back then. Let's say just to calculate some average. That was also like a huge improvement. On the other hand, I see it also used a lot for communications, for like as a kind of companion for your like email or like any kind of text generation. I use it myself, especially for like the grammar or spell check, but I do not honestly use it for like drafting emails as you can see it sometimes. I don't know, like I get to work with clients that they use these tools, and then you see how the AI tool has created that message because it doesn't feel human the way how it's responded. But yeah, in general, that's like more for analysis. So it is good for definitely dedicating your energy and your brain to more relevant stuff rather than just kind of like collect all the information you need and then trying to get all of that information manually.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there anything else that you would like to add that I haven't asked you?
I will actually make you a question.
Okay.
How do you experience the multilingual world? Like, I know yourself also speak more than 3 languages. How do you experience also being a multilingual in your field?
I think that throughout my life, from childhood studies, work, I have always, in one way or another, worked with languages. So I'm, in a way, used to this mode of living, thinking, and working. I also feel I grew up in Italy. My mother was German. I have a very strong connection to Germany. I spent a lot of time there, although I never lived there, which is funny. But I've now been in the UK for a very long time. So I find that even working, my day job is in my day job, I'm working digital marketing, specializing in Google Ads and social media ads. And I find that my working language is English, even though sometimes I manage multilingual campaigns, but my working language is in English. And I find that certain things now on a professional side just, come to me more naturally in English. So there's maybe a bit of a topical split where some things I think and say easier in either Italian or German and sometimes in English. But I also find that, professionally, it's sort of my specialty to have the multilingual side. And I really enjoy it. My clients enjoy it. And I think it's really a plus because it allows me to see things that other people cannot see or adapt a certain campaign or the messaging. But I also find it fascinating that it allows me to understand people better. Not only like, in simple words, if I speak to a German or an Italian or a Brit, I understand the nuances, but also it allows me to understand the psychology behind a person, which I find very interesting because I'm used to people being different and speaking differently and using languages in different ways. So I think languages are definitely an advantage. And also, I find that languages allow people to connect in a deeper way. If you speak with someone speaking Spanish, be it from Spain, Colombia, or another country again, or for me speaking with someone from Italy or Germany, there's a deeper connection. And when we speak our own language, we experience this human connection. And human connection is something that AI is not good at. And I like to think that we have this, we most of us nowadays use AI to some degree. And there's so many things that it can do and that we can use it for. But I find the human connection side is still very much in our hands, which is, in a way nice to know, because it kind of also, both on a personal side, but also on a professional side, on a working side, it's still languages opens up opportunities. And this is one of the many things that I like. That was a very long answer.
I really appreciate that answer, especially because as I get to really handle a lot of AI throughout my day work, it gets clearly when I am basically seeing a message thrown by a machine versus when I see someone who replied themselves. This is just one side of the context, but in general, the ability to speak to a real person, that's not something that is going to go away, or it should be taken away because we involve new tools in our life in general. And something that I really like from your content, from your answer, is that you get to touch on the psychological side. And that's so important in the CSM role as well. We get to develop this kind of cultural agility. I don't know, it's something that it's easily explainable, but you connect with those clients, for example, because you have something that is linked. It's the language, is the experiences, is the industry. And then since we need to be so flexible to adapt to each case, it also is needed the human interaction. Although maybe in a couple of years, the role, it could be taken over by some, I don't know, another AI tool. Still, there will be the requirement for the interaction with a human to handle this project, to have the final touch. And I think that's a superpower that no machine can replace.
Absolutely, I agree. As much as we use AI to do things, at the end, we want to buy a product or a service from a person that we relate to, that we connect with.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all from my side. You can also connect to me through LinkedIn. It's Wendy BRR if you would like to send me your request. And yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much, Sonia.
I'll put the link to your LinkedIn in the show notes. And thank you so much, Wendy, for coming on the show. It's been really a nice conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Wendy was very intentional with her career choice. In Barcelona, she noticed the events industry was flourishing, so she decided to focus on that, with languages being a plus on her CV. She then intentionally moved to Finland, finding a home and a fulfilling career in a very international environment. This is a great example where languages are not the main service in the job, but rather a powerful extra skill that opens doors to opportunities. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. And if you think a friend might be interested, do share this episode or the podcast with them. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the show notes.